Philippine President Marcos Jr. will propose to Congress a 6.8 trillion peso national budget next year. The annual outlay is equal to roughly $120 billion, was approved on Thursday by the Development Budget Coordination Committee. Next year's spending plan is higher by 7.4% from this year's total and represents 22% of the nation's GDP. Economic managers say the budget will include funding to improve state services at the local level, reinforce social protection systems, and improve efforts at climate resiliency. The president is expected to make the case for the budget before lawmakers in his annual address to Congress, set by the end of July. The proposed budget will then be submitted to the legislature at the start of the following month. Philippine property prices up again in the first quarter of the year, but at a slower pace. This amid the central bank's rate easing cycle, which could have contributed to more lending to home buyers, driving up demand. Data from the Bangko Sentral show the nationwide residential property price index, or RPPI, moderated from 9.8% year-on-year in Q4 2024 to 7.6% in Q1 2025. In terms of location, Metro Manila saw the biggest jump in prices at 13.9%, outpacing the 3% uptick in areas outside NCR. While in terms of categories, condominium units saw a 10.6% rise, while houses saw a 4.5% growth. The RPPI is a measure of the average change in the prices of various types of housing units over time, based on banks' data on actual loans granted to acquire residential properties. The Philippine government downplaying concerns over proposed tax on remittances in the United States. At a palace briefing, Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro said, according to the Finance Department, less than 1 million Filipinos in the U.S. would be affected by the measure. The DOF also estimates a minimal impact on the Philippine economy, possibly just $100 million out of the projected $36.5 billion in total remittances for 2026. That's a decline of only 0.003% of gross domestic product.
Out of the 4.4 million overseas Filipinos in the U.S., only 20% will be affected by the proposed tax proposal, which is seen to take effect on January 1, 2026, if passed. The tax will affect non-U.S. citizens, including green card holders and those with working visas, H-1 visa holders. Ang halimbawa daw po, the tax for a $100 remittance is only $3.50. So essentially, only 96.5 or $96.50 will be received by the family in the Philippines.
A Philippine Central Bank survey earlier showed up to 90% of remittances are used for basic family needs, such as food, housing, and utilities. Palace officials assure the public that the government remains watchful and ready to act should the U.S. measure dubbed Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act pass and affect Filipino families more severely. Now, here's a new initiative to bridge the digital divide. The Department of Information and Communications Technology has rolled out the Bayanihan SIM project. It aims to boost internet access in remote areas of the country. The project will provide free SIM cards loaded with 25 gigabytes of data to select families, especially students in far-flung communities, to give them a head start in connectivity. The target, to distribute 600,000 SIM cards by the end of 2025 and more than 1 million more next year. They also confirmed that the telecommunication partners have committed to build more common towers in areas without signal and donate mobile devices to beneficiaries.
So we're just starting them off with the connectivity, then we'll supplement it with e-commerce, then with jobs, and yun, the development in the area will allow them to pay for the service na.
The pilot testing for the Bayanihan project began this week at the Calawacan Elementary School in Bulacan. Next stops include Zambales and Quezon Province. 3 billion pesos from the national budget has been allotted to reach 5 million Filipinos.